here.
Did you hit record?
Nope. We're good now. There it is. U.S. Open Week. The busiest man in DFS has joined the show tonight. It's my pleasure. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the Turn Fantasy Guy podcast brought to you by Rotoballer.com. I'm always Andrew Putters. I got my buddy Joe Nicely here with me. We're down here in the hot Knoxville, Tennessee, 97 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's go a little further northeast of us. It's about 40 degrees cooler. Tambo, busiest man in DFS. Thank you for coming on, first of all.
Yeah.
Where you get your energy from, man? Where you get your energy from?
Oh, it's just a passion, right? I love what I do. It's so fun. I don't know, it's the old quote. It's a cliche thing, but like if you don't, I don't even know what the quote is anymore. To be honest, we're working so many days this week, but I think in general they say like if it's not work if you love what you're doing, and that's really what it is. And Joe Nicely, that's just not a last name, but you guys treated me pretty nicely last time I was on, so I thought, you know what? Why not hop back on with the boys? And I forgot. I didn't tell you guys this. We'll do it now on the show, but I'm coming down to Tennessee in August for the FedEx St. Jude.
We might have to travel west.
Really?
Hook up with Tambo out in Memphis.
Yeah. Little bit.
So
well, hey, look, you guys are in Tennessee. I don't know the difference between Memphis and Knoxville, but it can't be as bad as most people tell me up in Canada. Like, oh, the RBC Canadian Open, you going? I'm like, it's a 3-hour. It's like if someone lives in New York, are they flying to Chicago for the event this week? Like, just because I'm in Canada, it don't mean it's next door to me. So right. I was like, no, I'm not going to that event.
Yeah, Memphis is, what is it, about 8 hours from us, AP, driving?
No, it's short. It's 6. But what's any particular reason just to come to watch it, or?
Yeah, just going to come down for that, the FedEx St. Jude Championship. So excited about that, actually. It's going to be the first event this year that I'll go to. So I usually go to a few more, but just the way it shook out. So definitely going to go to that one and then plan a bunch more for next year. So
we're going to recommend one right now.
Okay.
I went on their vacation this year. Do Harbortown. Easter Sunday on 18th Green at Harbortown is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that idea, actually. I think that's a great spot too, and it's not too far, like to fly to or whatever. I could get down there quite easily. So
yeah, and it's just a great vacation spot in general. And
I like that
to be there during the Heritage would be pretty cool.
Yeah, actually,
something we've talked about doing.
Easter actually is on Master Sunday this year, but normally it falls on Sunday of Harbortown. It's pretty cool, actually. Yeah. It's really cool. But anyway, yeah, I've been there. I caddied it at 97, 8, 9, 99. I caddied in St. Jude's for Club Pro. It's hot there in August, Tambo. Yeah. Like,
hey, I'm ready for it, boys. You tell me your temperatures there before I hopped on, and I'm like, yeah, I could use. Maybe it might be too hot, but I need a little bit of a tan, right? I never get one up here, so we'll try it out.
You like barbecue and potato salad? I mean, that's what
type of question is that? Are you kidding me?
That's what you're going to get down there.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Well, let's go ahead and get the elephant out of the room. Let's start out with some press conferences this week. Did anybody watch any USGA involved, Live Golf involved, PGA Tour involved, and what'd y'all think of them? Tambo, you go first. I know you got a lot to say about this. So go first.
I watched them all, yeah, for sure. I definitely checked them out. I thought, some of them were more interesting than others. I guess, I tweeted about the Rahm thing today, and it wasn't me that said that. Someone had a great comment that I liked that just said, it was a great point. It's easier to, like, because I said Rahm was just so fluent with this conversation, but they said it's easy to talk about something fluently when you truly believe in it versus clearly like the big thing when, like Phil, everyone's talking about Phil's conference, and it was keyed up. It was, completely teed up. Like he had everything ready. He said, I respect this. I respect that. Like 30 times, play a drinking game to that. You'd be absolutely loaded because he just kept repeating it and just ignoring some of the questions, asking questions back to questions, all standard stuff for deflection. So I guess that's the thing. Even if he doesn't feel sorry about it, and I'm not, here to talk politics, or I don't care that much, but like in general, in the sense of like them picking for or against Live, I mean, I'm saying he didn't really come out and say sorry for it, but it's clear that he's not comfortable talking about it still. And he didn't have good answers. Like you have a lifetime membership and he's leaning on the schedule. Well, you can make your own schedule. You're set to go. You can pretty much set your own schedule for whatever you want. So I don't know, just be honest about it. And he kind of said it at one point, like the financial obligation and everything that came through a commitment. But I think Bryson did the best job of that today. Bryson came out and said that was the thing, said he sort of, has stuff he wants to do with the money, create a driving range the kids can come out to. I heard like a little thing like that. Doesn't mean it's right. I'm just saying at least he came out and said that and kind of came clean with it. But the Brooks one was the most interesting to me because I'm not sure why he acted like he didn't know about it or like it was some, thing that like your brother literally plays in it. So I'm not sure. I know it was last week and you tried to say like it's a black cloud for the event. I do tend to agree there. Like I would like to just get back to talking about what's at hand, but clearly it's, something completely unique that is already changing the landscape and potentially changing the golf landscape as a whole in a massive way. So I think that was more the interesting part of the Brooks one, but I just thought, I don't know why he was so defensive and so deflecting things away when clearly about the event. Your best man in your wedding and brother was literally in the event last week. So I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. Joe, what did you think?
Yeah, I caught a couple of them. I think with the Brooks thing, maybe it's just kind of Brooks trying to pump himself up.
Yeah.
I mean, we always see kind of him trying to kind of be combative the week of majors. It seems like maybe he gets some motivation from that. I'm not sure. It was kind of weird. I totally agree with you, Tambo. I thought John Rahm was awesome. If I'm the PGA Tour, I'm tossing everybody in the conference room, putting that video on and saying, here we go, boys. This is what we're putting out there. Rory obviously over the last several weeks and months has kind of made his stance known. Spoke very well of the PGA Tour and the reasons he's staying. I thought Rahm knocked it out of the park today. As you mentioned, Mickelson, it's just kind of a sideshow at this point with him. But yeah, man, it's like Tambo said, really kind of want to focus on the U.S. Open this week. But this is the first time we got guys coming in to play a major from two separate leagues. So it's kind of wild to think about. This is kind of going to be our new reality. I think it's going to hurt golf fans more than probably anyone, and I think it's going to put even more emphasis on the majors, which are already kind of far and away the most important events. But we're going to see an even bigger gap between the major championships 4 times a year and the rest of the golf schedule. Eventually we're going to see roughly half the best players on LIV, half the best players on the PGA Tour, and more than likely we're only going to see them all competing against each other 4 times a year. So it's a new world. Guys like us that cover it, I think we'll feel the difference as we move forward. Who knows where we're going with LIV DFS? But it's definitely interesting. But excited to dive into to the actual golf tournament this week.
Yeah. Before we move on, I'll say a few things. Number one, worst press conference or worst talk on TV, public speaking about the whole thing. Commissioner of the PGA did a pretty awful job in that booth. He didn't talk about anything that we care about. Honestly, he talked about all stuff private towards them and legality, and didn't sell me one bit on their stance. That's that. Like Joe said, I agree. It's going to hurt us. I think the number one tournament that's going to be hurt going forward is going to be the Players Championship. Who knows what that's going to look like going forward? Kind of sad because that's been the strongest field year in, year out for many years. And lastly, I'll say that hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a major litigator in the golf industry come on, talk a little bit about the legal side. So stay tuned for that on Twitter. We're going to talk a little bit about players' rights, tour rights, and lawsuits that are coming forward, and can't wait to talk about that on there. So let's move on. U.S. Open, Canadian. Well, let's go back. Your national championship last week, Tambo. Were you pleased with the way that Royal St. George handled it up there?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was an excellent way to just round it out. Like you said, the weekend for the LIV first event, and then you get to see that. Of course, I just said one thing, like it wasn't like surprising. I guess everyone was like, oh, we got the best leaderboard in the history. The field was so bad that, of course, that's the way it should have went. I'm just glad it did. So again, we know this, it doesn't always go that way. So that was awesome in the end. And again, you can't ask for a better finish. JT, Rory, Finau was in the mix. Burns was in the mix. Like guys were coming from behind, like Lowry and Fitz. It was just everybody there. So I was extremely pleased with it. I liked the course quite a bit. Actually, I thought that was another good thing. And I'm not a big course guy. I'm not out there looking at the all the stuff that goes on with it. But if I see a course that I like. And when I'm watching it, normally we know the courses quite well, but last week and this week, you have a history there, but it's a really far history where you're not as in depth with it. So I was saying that earlier, even for this course this week, extremely excited about it moving forward. It was the same last week. Couldn't have asked for a better finish. I agree with you totally though on the Jay Monahan thing. Worst timing, has to do it at that time because of the people that are watching and the most people watching and the ones that he wants, the guys that will stay with the game. But I thought Nance crushed it with the questions. He actually asked some hard questions. I just think that was the thing. Again, another almost like the way Phil handled it, where it was like a question back to a question. It wasn't the best responses for what we actually want to hear. Well, we have a great finish going on in a golf tournament. So hard to balance. I thought if he was going to come on, let's say something strict, hard, fast, get to the point, make it happen and land it. But either way, it is what it is, man. Like you said, I love what Joe said too there. We are going to see some crazy stuff moving forward, and it is the first event where we're going to have it. It'll be quite the Sunday if somehow we got like DJ versus Rom down to the stretch. Not that I love DJ this week, but just to say an example where like, imagine if you get that. I think it's great TV for right now. I know it's hurting us in the long run and maybe it is, we'll see, but I definitely agree that it probably is, but I do think it's more interesting from that perspective. You could get a real battle down the stretch. And I just would love to see how the fans move on it and how everyone in golf is talking about the interviews after round 3, if that's the leaderboard or final group or anything. I'm really hoping for something like that personally. I think it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like when we were kids, or at least when I was a kid growing up, the World Series was always cool because the American League and the National League never played each other except for the World Series. Yeah. So it's kind of got a little bit of that vibe to it. So, there's some cool storylines that could possibly pop up. It would be neat to maybe see a DJ in the mix or whatever coming down the stretch. But yeah, I think there's just some big changes coming, and it's something we're going to have to adjust to. And obviously we're in this world every week, so we're well equipped to do that. And looking forward to the new challenges. But yeah, it's a different world in the world of golf right now.
For sure.
Absolutely. So let's get right into it, guys. U.S. Open 2022. It's going to be played at the Country Club at Brookline, Massachusetts. The course has been around for 140 years. Very important golf course in American history. When we talk about golf, number one, really, really good golf movie. First off and foremost, of the 1913, I believe, 1913 U.S. Open, where Francis Wilmette defeated Teddy Ray and Harry Vardon to bring the championship to America. I feel like if you're in the golf world at all, you've probably seen that movie. And his house is still standing there, kind of a museum piece there at the golf course where he lived across the street as a caddy. As a kid, it's a 27-hole private golf course being rearranged strictly for this tournament. Also, very famous for the 1999 Ryder Cup comeback where USA was down to Europe 10-6. Justin Leonard hits a 45-footer on Jose Maria, and the whole team and fans stormed the green, even though Jose Maria still had a putt to finish. But and that being said, historically great for American golf. And I don't think this weekend's going to alter that at all. I think it's going to grow that the greatness of this golf course. The layout this week, like I said, 27 holes, however, been pre-selected holes down to 18. It's going to be a par 70, 7,250 yards roughly. This golf course was designed 3 different times because it's 3 9-hole courses, or actually it was a 6-hole course and I think a 9-hole course. And then anyway, 1893 was the original design, renovated in 13 and 19 by Gil Hansen. Or Gil Hands, Poana greens, Poana with bent tees, fairways. You got bluegrass, ryegrass, Poana in the rough. Says 3 inches. We've already seen video evidence of much deeper than 3 inches when you get off the path or in hard to reach mowing areas. Historically, very, very small greens, roughly 4,400 square feet greens. Golf course and related, that's all I can say about it. Joe, you got anything else you want to say about this golf course other than it's just going to be a great weekend? Can't hear you, Joe.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good one, man. We were talking before we came on. We're all really excited to see this golf course. I love these old school golf courses that have kind of been brought back to life. Gil Hance, we just saw Southern Hills, which he did the renovation on. I think everyone was really impressed with that. So I expect this to be a great layout. As you mentioned, there's some unique characteristics of this golf course. It's really true kind of to its roots, to its New England roots. A lot of unique kind of landscapes. We got some rock formations. We were talking about the little chocolate drops that are all around. Got some fescue out there, tons of bunkering. Just a really unique golf course. I think it's going to provide these guys a challenge. And also, shout out to our boy Charlie, who gave us some boots on the ground the breakdown of the course a couple of weeks ago with the Twitter DM. We appreciate that, Charlie. We're big fans. That's all I got to say about the course this week.
Yeah, Tambo, you said you really weren't really introduced to the golf course. I know you know about the 99 Ryder Cup and all that, the history, but honestly, you take the movie out of reference, you take the Ryder Cup, it's a completely different golf course 20 something years ago. Even I think in Phil's press conference alone, he said the golf course is basically completely different. You have a lot. He has a lot of the same irons that he had back in because the ball and the driver goes that much further. But he said completely different. I know you're pretty fired up. I'll say you. Go ahead.
I was gonna say what you said there is perfect. Like that's what, even if you remember that stuff or know about it or whatever, like I said, you just never put the time in to go through and actually spend all this time going through a course, like watching flyover videos for every hole, trying to sort of analyze out like what's that going to mean for players. And my biggest takeaway is just that, look, there's going to be carnage. It's the US Open. We know this, there's potential wins, all this stuff, but the course looks incredible. It looks like it's going to be a great watch. We're always going to get the best when it's like that. One thing we know for certain, the best are going to rise to the top. Like always, it's going to be really tough. Guys are going to shoot themselves out of it right out of the gate. There's going to be carnage. And it looks like, I've seen a couple of people reference this, but like the lucky lies or like getting luck. Cause here's the thing. Any US Open, you want a good driver, the golf ball, but long, accurate, it's all good. But even the longest accurate drive here can get into trouble. It can get the bad lie under your feet, in the rough, standing in the rough, where it just runs out the wrong way for you. And yeah, you'll still have a shot in it. It'll still go okay. But that's the other thing. Once you get up there, but like around the green, and I was saying this at the start of the week, and I still fully agree with this take, but there is one caveat is that, when you talk about how important around the green is, because only I think 52% last time, this time, maybe 50 to 55% of greens, let's say, get hit. The best guy, maybe 60%, something like that, or maybe more, who knows? But my point is more with the ball off the green, no matter how good you are around the green, the rough is so thick. The bunkers are tough, the runoffs, everything that's there, just the blind shots, all these factors that go into this around the green game. It's even that is going to come down to some chance, right? Where you have to look at it from the perspective of if it's like what we do with fast greens, right? If you got fast greens, we say, okay, maybe Will Zalatoris, Corey Connors, they could show up here because it neutralizes it. Well, it's the same thing. If everyone's chipping out of 5-inch rough around the greens or 4-inch rough, whatever it ends up being, it's going to be tough, man. So, if you can make a mistake pretty quick, you can flub it, and then you've got problems on that hole for your guy. So you're going to have to, you're going to be, it's going to be in your favor to take some chances this week and not just play all the guys that everyone else is playing the same guys because the stats show it.
Yeah. I think it's going to basically just come down to, I think we talked about it before the show, mental toughness, grit. And I'm excited getting this slate because of that. So I'm ready to red light some guys. So 10K and above, Morikawa, Cam Smith, Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, JT, and Scheffler. I'm only green lighting one guy based on recent history, and that's JT all the way for me. I'm not a 10K and above normal stickler unless we have like a major shift in the field like we would see last week where you have, really hot, top heavy salary. But with this full boat here, I would be comfortable playing JT over all these guys. Scheffler still looks a little shaky. Who knows where Rahm's at? Rory, played great last week. Maybe he's coming off a high. I don't know. Cam Smith, can't trust him. Morikawa, wait until it clicks, and when it does, we better be ready because it's going to be ridiculous. So that's where I'm at in 10K and above. Joe, where are you at in 10K and above?
I think I like this range a little bit more than you do, AP. But the mid range, man, so plentiful this week. I think you'll see a lot of people gravitating to the 9s, to the 8s. So you can maybe get a little bit contrarian by spinning up here. I think Colin Morikawa and Cam Smith are going to be the 2 lowest owned in this range. Both are interesting plays. I would lean more towards Morikawa just for his ability off the tee. Hadn't really demonstrated it lately, but this is a guy that we know shows up big time in majors. Already has 2 major championships under his belt, so we know he's capable of playing really well. Last year at Torrey Pines in the U.S. Open, he was right in the thick of that thing down the stretch. So as you mentioned, when things click for Morikawa, which they tend to do in majors, he has that kind of ability to elevate his game in the biggest events. So he's very interesting in me at 10K, especially when we're talking about dealing with these very, very small greens. Rory, JT, Rahm, Scheffler, all extremely strong plays in my opinion. We know what Scheffler's done throughout the year. JT is kind of rivaling him as far as his consistency and his excellence, kind of staying up at the top of the leaderboard week in, week out. Rory's coming off a huge win. Can he keep it going? We know that he can be kind of an enigma. We can see him play extremely well, even from one day to the next, much less from 1 week to the next. So he's a guy I'll keep ownership on. I think he'll be the most popular play up here coming off that win last week. With his track record of kind of erratic play, especially in majors, might be a guy that you want to get underweight on. Interested to hear Tambo's thoughts on that and the rest of these guys up the top.
Yeah, I'm with you on the little bit more interest up here. I think one of the reasons is because, like you said, just general roster construction. The 9K and 8K is just so loaded that I think people end up going there. And I think if you play a guy up here you like, pick it, John Rahm, JT, Scheffler, whoever you like, Morikawa, whatever you choose, and skip that 9K range and take a couple of those 8K guys, maybe not Fitzpatrick, who's already going to be super popular in there, but just pick a couple others. Like you could go Rahm, Neiman, Cam Young. Just give an example of all guys that I think have upside, drive the ball well enough, could find their way up there. And you've got a unique build just by going like that. And you've already started with 3 powerhouses and you actually end up in a very similar remaining roster construction spot where like remaining dollars, like the other ones, if you start like X Fitzpatrick. So it's like, why go balanced when you can get that firepower in there and just build differently and still be able to fill it up and I guess fill it out, I should say, the same way. I do like Scheffler. I think he's always going to go a little bit overlooked because people just can't get past the fact that he keeps doing it. And so while you got to pay for that, it's 11-3. I'm thinking more of it like if I was building a Rory lineup, where can I just go find that $800? You can find it, right? You can take a $7,900 guy to 71. You can take an $8,500 guy to 77. There's a lot of options to be able to find the money. I do worry a little bit about Rory continuing it, but I still think the guys I'm least interested in are Cam Smith and Morikawa. Morikawa can definitely find it here. Like you said, and when he does, you'll want to be on early. So I don't fault anyone for going there. I just think there's too many guys that already are on point right now that if we have another lightning in a bottle, like the Open, when he couldn't find it the week before, and then all of a sudden he found it at the Open and won, it sucks, right? That's going to, not going to ruin my US Open because good for him and it'll still be a great watch, but I just don't think I can get there. So for me, it's Scheffler, definitely with you, AP, on JT. I've been talking about him all week, everywhere I go. I don't care about he won, like he almost won last week. I don't care that it's because he won the last major and he's still going to be popular. But at the same time, I think he should be. I think the price is fair. I think bones on the bag matters more. I've talked about this a few times, but I do think it's true. And you just look up there like Rory, he's done it before. He's the last guy to win an event and then go out and win a major the week after, but he hasn't done it recently. He's won events before majors and he's won events, he has not done well at majors, even that stuff aside, like the back-to-back factors. So I don't know. I think last week was sort of a good spot for Rory. He wanted to win that bad. He wanted to get on that microphone, not to bring up Liv again, but he definitely he had that speech ready with the dropping the deuce on Norman there, saying he's got the one extra over top of him. So I know he wanted to get on that mic and he did his job. Not saying that's enough. He wants to go out and get another major, but at the same time, you still got to go out and be able to do it. And I think the field is just loaded. So Scheffler, JT, Rahm are sort of the 3 guys I like up top here for now.
Man, y'all are talking me into it, but there's so much to love about below 10K. I think when you're talking Hovland, Chef, Xander, Spieth, DJ, Zalatoris, Cantlay, Matsuyama, Lowry, that's the 9K range. And I mean, I I could see a Neiman, Lowry, Zalatoris, Spieth top 5 right here out of this group. I know that's probably, like you said, a lot of people are going to magnet to that 95 to 987, probably 88 range. Probably going to be a lot of ownership right there, a lot of talent. Shane Lowry is pretty gritty, pretty consistent. Zalatoris just hits the ball so good, and Jordan Spieth just is like that gnat that never goes away. And if you're in the lead there at the end and he's close and you give him an opportunity, I'm not saying he's going to like take it away from you, but he just never goes away. And that's the way I see his game. He is the ultimate grinder in the modern era. And let's be honest, he's the top 2 needle mover in the game right now. Him and Rory, they're the top 2 needle mover in viewership. So this is a Jordan Spieth podcast, isn't it, Joe? He's one of the originals. Right. We're Jordan Spieth apologists. So podcast. So that's where I'm at in the 9K range. I'm even going to throw Neiman in there. Joaquin Niemann, I expect him to have a great week this week. A little concerned with his low ball strategy or ball striking, but man, he hits it so straight with off the tee and so long and so straight, and he don't putt it bad. So I feel like this is just a longer version of Harbor Town. So that's what I feel there. Obviously a lot more difficult, but that's the reason I threw those names out there, guys. Fire away at me, poke holes in my theory.
I wouldn't poke holes, but I'd say the other side of the Harbor Town conversation is who was the playoff against, right? So someone brought this up earlier, Pebble Beach, smaller greens with Cantlay, I think is at least a bit interesting because like you said, so here's the thing, Neiman and Lowry at the bottom. I know Neiman's 8,900, but you lumped them in. So if you bring up Neiman, Lowry, you've got Spieth and Schauffele, Xander for sure, top 7 at every US Open that he's played or better. So you got that. And then you got the Willie Z love coming off a last time out. And it's not that I'm against these other guys I'm mentioning. I'm just saying there's no way that Cantlay can get all the, like Cantlay and Matsuyama can't get as much ownership as those other guys. Even if they still get 12 to 13, you can get overweight on that. You can get 20%, you can get 22, you can get whatever you want if you're interested. So not as high on Xander as most. I understand why you play him. I just think you got to be very careful with your roster construction this week. I just talked about this on another show, but I'll bring it up again because like Rory, Xander, Fitz, Sungjae, at least those 4, you just got to be very careful what you're doing with them. It doesn't mean you have to fade them all completely. I'm just saying make your choices and what you want to do. But Xander, I think, has other guys around him too. You've got Spieth, who we like. He'll be owned, but not probably as much as Xander, or maybe a little bit less, but that's just picking your guy. You either want the guy that's been safe and come top 7, or you want the guy that's just won at RBC Heritage that also has been on with his driver, on with his approach. The short putts are usually what mess him up, but we're talking like 5-footers. He'll get to those here, but you also got to think smaller greens. If he's outside of that, it's going to be tap-ins for par. And if he's chipping it up, oftentimes he's pretty good at that. So I think there's some upside there for Jordan Spieth. And then Zalatoris has just been so good. I wouldn't bet him at like 25 or 28 or 30 to 1 like others are doing, but at 9,300, I like playing him here. And then even Matsuyama is the other guy. So you can't play everybody, but like the guys I like most would be like Spieth, Zalatoris, Cantlay, Matsuyama, and Lowry. That's sort of the 5 guys of the 7 or 8. And then up top, I'm only playing 3. So you got 8 guys in the top 9K and up. I think that's fine because I'm not going to have very many for you guys down in the 6K. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, totally with you, Tambo. We're not at the 6Ks yet, but I'm with you. I don't necessarily like going down there this week. You touched on a lot of my favorites, man. We talked about before the show. I really like kind of moving to Jordan Spieth here, off this Xander ownership, and to an extent off the Zalatoris ownership, though I really do like Willie Z. We talk a lot about good chalk and bad chalk, and I feel like that's chalk I'm willing to swallow this week there with Willie Z. His expectations just go through the roof. Anytime we're talking about a difficult golf course that requires excellence from tee to green, He's a guy that's actually kind of hurt by the regular season schedule on the PGA Tour. These kind of soft birdie fests really don't set up to allow him to shine. But I love Willie Z, man. We know what he's done in majors. So I'm definitely there on him. But moving back to Spieth, I like the pivot there. I feel like this course sets up better for him than any U.S. Open venue we've been to in a while. Tambo talked about kind of the lucky lies and maybe some of the bad breaks that you're going to get on this course. And we know how well Jordan Spieth plays in Open Championships. So I feel he's really able to handle that. We know how great he is around the greens. So there's a lot to like with Spieth this week. Of course, Xander's been a beast in U.S. Opens. We kind of all know his track record in U.S. Opens. There's a lot to like there with him, but really like that pivot to Spieth. And I'll even toss out there, guys, just for conversation's sake here, Victor Hovland and Dustin Johnson are going to have minuscule ownership in this range. And we know the deal with DJ. We know the whole live thing. We know all those controversies. But this is a guy that has a U.S. Open win on his resume, has always competed well in these tough events. Victor Hovland, we can say the same thing for him. The U.S. Open has been his best major since he turned professional. He even played really well as an amateur, I believe, at Pebble Beach. So certainly has the tee to green ability to handle this. And if we do want to kind of start getting into the around the green stuff, that thick rough around the green, as Tambo mentioned earlier, I think that's kind of an equalizer for these guys. When you start talking about just chunking it out of the rough around the greens. But where Vic gets in troubles in the bunkers, there are certainly plenty of those this week. And we will see some holes with runoffs. So there's concerns with Vic and with DJ, but just going to toss them out there. When you start talking about, 4, 5, 6, 7% ownership on players of this caliber, in a big GPP like the Millie Maker or something, it's kind of intriguing.
Yeah. I feel like DJ's cashed in his chips. I don't know. I agree. I agree.
That's a very fair argument. But just for kind of from a game theory perspective, feel like it's worth tossing out there that ownership's expected to be really, really low.
You're right, Joe. You're right. And I feel like on the Hovland subject, the only thing, that negative about it was, and that's probably why he's going to be overlooked, is just that it just hasn't been as sharp in the last month or so. And that's probably why you're going to get that low ownership there. And I agree with the theory. So let's move on to 8Ks, guys. Hatton, Homa, Finau, Burns, Berger, Fitzpatrick, Horschel, Koepka, the name that shouldn't be mentioned, and Joaquin that we already threw out there. Joe, we talked about this on the phone just for a minute this morning, I think it was. Days and nights run together when you got 4 kids and you work all hours of the day. But I feel like I think I threw out there the theory that maybe Cam Young is not a grinder. And when things are going well, it goes really well. And when things are not going well, it's really bad. And you were the sufferer of it on that 84 in the final round. Cost you tens of thousands of dollars. But
it was tough.
And we'll probably we just don't know where Koepka's head's at either. He's up there high-fiving Ludacris. Thoughts where he might caddy for him in the practice round goofingly this week. Horschel, I heard he ripped a fingernail off on the sailboat over the weekend. I don't know if y'all heard that. Fitzpatrick's
too, so he can give it to the boys. That's what it was.
Hey, no love lost for Horschel in Tennessee, in the state of Tennessee. Trust me. Fitzpatrick's going to have a ton of ownership. Feel like Berger's the lost man. Sam Burns is popular. Finau, we don't know where he's at. Is there any way I can sneak Homa in on low ownership this week, guys?
Go ahead, Joe.
I don't think so. Not low ownership. I don't think he's going to have the ownership of a Fitz, but I'll let Tambo give his thoughts on this. I think Fitz is going to be. We see it kind of every major, man. These guys just start gaining steam. There's a couple of pockets in the different price ranges. I think we're talking about Xander this week. And this point, we're talking about Fitz, won the U.S. Amateur here in 2013, and has played fantastic golf. And this golf course is a nice fit for him. And I think Tambo mentioned down the sevens. We'll talk about Sung JM here in a minute. But yeah, I think Homa is going to be pretty popular. People like to play him. He's put forth really strong efforts on kind of these classical type layouts, these classical tree line layouts. We've seen him play really well on those. I really like going back to Tony Finau. We've seen some very strong major championship performances throughout his career, and he's playing excellent golf. Obviously, coming off a runner-up finish last week in Canada, but had a couple of strong performances since then. Struggled to start the year, and a big part of those struggles were around the green. He lost strokes around the green in 6 straight tournaments to start 2022. But we've seen a dramatic uptick in that. He's now gained strokes around the green in his last 6. So I feel like Tony's heading in the right direction. Then a couple of young guys. You mentioned Cameron Young. I love physically and the fit for this golf course. He's a New York kid. He's familiar with this style of golf. Grew up playing these classical layouts. So I really like the fit from Cameron Young. I don't know where he is mentally as far as handling the U.S. Open. That's something that, it takes a certain kind of temperament to hang around for 4 days, 4 tough rounds. You're going to have a bad stretch of 9 holes. It's just going to happen in U.S. Opens, and you got to weather that storm. That's something we've seen Brooks Koepka do really well throughout his career. The ownership's interesting, but man, there's just a ton of question marks there. He just hadn't seemed real focused on playing great golf this year, at least over the last couple of months. So, man, this is going to be a popular range. Interested to hear what Tambo says. I mean, I think you can make some pivots. If I'm picking a player, I probably like Tony Finau. It's probably my favorite play in this range. But give me your thoughts, Tambo. It's these 8Ks are really interesting this week.
Yeah, especially to AP's first point, like, ownership wise, just looking at it, like not everybody can be extremely popular. So, Fitz, I think for sure. I think Finau will get a little popular just based on last week. So he'll take a little bit of Homa, but people have been loving Homa either way. So I think Homa still gets some steam. I know Burns and Berger, it's hard to tell between those two. It sounds more like Burns, though, is getting the steam based on 3 wins this season. And the facts, I think Berger could get squeezed a little bit there between Fitzpatrick and Burns and Finau. And then when you go back up to the top, you've got Neiman. So the Cam Young thing is interesting to me. Like, I know the 84 sucked, and it sounds like it cost you too, Joe. So that's even worse. But in general, before that, everything was fine. And now he's priced almost at like the price that no one wants to pay. Like, how can he be more than these other guys? You talked about it. Like, it's his dad is the tour pro at Sleepy Hollow, so he knows the area, like at least, being on that coast and everything there. I think that helps. And then go back to the PGA Championship. There was no 84 there. Like, the final day was a rough hole. I keep talking about this, but it's true. 16th tee box. He was standing there at 6 under, ready to win this thing, like a chance just as much as Mito, if you will. Like, Mito fell back. So the playoff was at 5 under. Cam Young was at 16 under. Or sorry, not at 16 under. Nobody was at 6 under on 16 before a double bogey and some trouble that ended up getting him out of it. So I don't know. I don't, maybe that was too soon for him, but we've seen in regular season events, mind you, but Mito after his drop, he bounced back, got a 7th and a T13th already since then. So, and his was worse, right? He melted down and lost a major that was in hand. Just stay in the fairway probably, and you're good. Cam Young, the 84, will be on people's mind. The price is high. I still think it's pretty interesting. It's intriguing, at least, to play a guy that we know can play these tougher courses. Played well at the Heritage. What was the other one? Memorial. Like, he's played some good golf.
He's played these tough golf courses really well, man. Had a runner up at Riviera. On the West Coast swing. And I'll also say that T3 at Harbortown, man, that's coming off a really bad Masters outing. So he showed a little bounce back ability there. That's a golf course that you really wouldn't think's a great fit for Cam Young. Yeah. But yeah, statistically, man, I said it heading into the Memorial. I mean, we're from a statistical standpoint, we're getting a 10K plus golfer. That's priced in the 8s. So, there is a lot to like as far as the talent and the physical skill set that's there. I really like where his career's headed, and I think he's going to be a really good player for a long time. So, if people can get past that 84, at Muirfield, he's an interesting play for sure.
And that's just what like we do so much. It's all long term versus short term and major history versus that. But I'll just say this again, it doesn't mean it's right, but like Cam Young, 2 Corn Ferry Tour wins, Will Zalatoris 1. Last major, Will Zalatoris lost in the playoff. Cam Young right there in third. Like they're doing, and the results on the season and some of the other tougher events, he's been in the mix. So while it's not the major history or even close to it of what we've seen from Will Zalatoris, I'm just giving an example. You could say it about other guys too as you go down the board, but I just like looking at it a little bit from that angle. And then the Finau call, like you said, ownership or not, like you just got to look at him there. Look at his major record too. 10th, 5th, 9th, 5th, 3rd, 4th, 8th, 10th, 8th. Of course, there's 38, 64, a couple missed cuts in there. And recently 15th, 35th, and 30th, but he played very well last week, had everything lined up. All the game, he shot like a 64 on Sunday. I'm sorry that everyone was shooting 59s or aiming for like 59 watches were everywhere, but it's not like the guy played bad and, shot himself out of it. It was a chance to get another win for him, and he just didn't. It's tough. You're playing with Rory and JT. Tell me that ain't tough. It is what it is, and you'll need more than that here. But don't forget, you don't necessarily need the full outright win from a DraftKings perspective. He's $8,200. So you want someone who's gritty and tough and doesn't sweat the small stuff. It's Finau. He can battle back for you if he goes, high early and then can get low later. Like there's a lot of opportunity. Burns stands out still. I know, like I said, he's getting the late steam, but if you just look how good he's been at these tougher tracks, actually the ability to go out and win, make a cut, drives, he just pumps the ball out there. Great on approach, really good putter. I mean, he's got a complete game, so I think it's hard to go away from him. And then I'm with you earlier, AP, on Homa. Another guy, him and Burns just need to show a little bit more at majors, but if there's going to be a major they show up at, I think this would be it. I think this is a better suit for them. Like this suits them better. It's a better fit for them, I should say, where they're going to go out and be able to showcase it. So I like Homa, Finau, Burns, Cam Young, and then maybe Neiman. Like I said, we'll see Neiman, how he goes. I think you have to be very careful, even with him at 17, 18%, how you're using him in your lineups and not just putting all the chalk with him. But I think you can do something different, like skip the 9K range altogether and just say Neiman is my 9K guy at 8,900 and do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, do we not think Burns is pretty decently underpriced, and even with these great players here? I mean, should he not be 9,000 in this, even with this field? Yeah,
that's the issue. Like I said, well, I think he's right. He's kind of like the guy that everyone's saying is sneaky, but he's definitely not. We're only at Tuesday. Like he's just, everyone's like, oh, but Fitzpatrick and Homa and Finau, but it's too late. Everyone's already caught on that. Like this guy won 3 times already this season. He beat Scheffler in a playoff, who was like the number 1 guy all season, the Masters winner, everything. So I just don't think he's going to be that sneaky. But if you're not playing him with Rory, Fitz, and another couple of dudes in this range, right? Like Finau and adding in some of these other guys and Neiman, you can play Burns. Like he's a very good upside play at that price. I just don't think you want to play him with all the dudes and think you're being sneaky. You just can't do that.
Yeah. Also, one thing I want to throw out statistically, and this is just a weird stat, my golf mind, but Cameron Young goes through these phases of like 27, 45 holes where his proximity numbers are like better than Tiger Woods 2001 numbers. He can go, I think at the Heritage, he went like 24 holes and his longest putt was 11 feet or something. I mean, something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Cameron Young, world talent, next world talent. Got another next world talent way down in the 6K range we're going to talk about, but nobody really knows about him.
I can't wait for that. But to your point on Young, I think that's, again, going back to what we said earlier in the course preview. It's not to say it's all luck. Again, you know what these guys' skill levels are and what they're capable of. It's just you don't know which ones are going to show up this week, or we'd all win all the money every week. We just punch the same lineup in, we chop up that milli together, the 3 of us, and we'd all be set. I'll take 333 a piece with you guys, no problem. It's that if we knew that, we would have it every week. It's like we're playing to figure it out, and you got to be willing to go back to it. Is he going to shoot another 84? I don't know. He could come out round 1 84 and be done, but he might come out and shoot 2 under early and stick with it and hold and then make the cut and find his way over the weekend and then bomb it on Sunday. You don't know how it's going to go, but you're playing for what you want to put in going in. And I think Cam Young, we know the talent. You brought up a great point there, AP. So I like that call.
Yeah, let's move down here. The upper sevens, or let's go the full 7K range, but the upper sevens to me, guys, is there could be some where you could throw some major risk out there and come away smelling really good. And the reason I say that, we know what Corey Connors can do, right? Is he going to DeChambeau? We still don't know about the injury. Mito Pereira, obviously PGA, we know he's got next level bogey avoidance. And I think at any time we're going to play a tough golf course, he's got to be on the list. Fleetwood's the most interesting play for me in the sevens. But Louis O, I was looking up today. It's like, golly, you can't pull up a U.S. Open leaderboard without finding his name on it somewhere.
Yeah.
And then after that, we just got some good value down here. You got Answer, Sanjay. Too many names to mention, really. A lot of grinders, a lot of great talent, some great up and comers. I think there's a lot. The 7K range is a lot of place where, like I said, we can throw a lot of risk out there and get a lot of reward back. Tambo, you start out first. Anybody you're targeting heavily here in the 7K?
I think this is another spot where there's lots of opportunity to get different. So I think one thing is with the Sungjae factor, and then even the guys around him, you can just play above and below in your lineups. Again, I don't think you have to just force a 6K guy if you don't like one. We'll find some later we do like, and I've got some too. I'm interested to hear yours, AP. But I think up top here, like Aaron Wise would be interesting. Fleetwood, Louis. Those are guys that I like beyond Sungjae. And then you've got like Seamus Power, Gooch. I know some like Keegan Bradley. I kind of like Munoz there. So just sort of, if you are going to play up here, you notice I mentioned like some of these guys won't have the ownership to go with it. It sounds like to me, Corey Connors, Fleetwood, Sungjae, Keegan a little bit, and then like Davis Riley. Like, those are the types of guys that are going to see get ownership. Rose after that crazy round on Sunday at the bottom. But that leaves like all of basically 7,400 to 7,200. Looks like it's going to be pretty untouched besides Davis Riley, right? Maybe Riley gets it because people are looking like we talked about earlier with Young, where you're just looking at talent and upside. It's there for a guy like Riley, but there's a lot of guys with Munoz, Henley, Sergio, Varner, Kokrak, Straka can bomb it out there even. Like there's guys in there. I think that's what's going to win tournaments this weekend. That's where you're going to find your separation, is just avoiding some of the stuff going on 7,500 and above.
Joe, tag in
sure.
here on the 7K. I know you called me today, and so we got Justin Rose on a 59 watch at 7,100 in the U.S. Open. He was about to jump out the car. So,
yeah.
Where you at on the sevens?
Oh, it's early pricing. I think people are going to get to Rose. As Tambo mentioned, there's several hot spots in this 7K range. Sungjae M feels like the kind of the elephant in the room there at 7,600. Missed the PGA. I think it's the PGA due to COVID. But he's coming in, he's going to be 20+% on, guys. And while I like Sungjae, I feel like, there's certainly ways to get different here with quality players. Tambo mentioned kind of around Sungjae, working around him. Seamus Power, I think it's shown us a lot over the past 12 months. We've seen some really nice performances from him. Fared well at the Masters, looked really good at the PGA Championship. So I think he certainly has a skill set to be able to handle this course. You mentioned Tommy Fleetwood, who I'm a big fan of. Kind of got back on that wagon this year, and I'm willing to stay there this week. And unfortunately, I really like a couple of the popular guys up the top, in Corey Connors and Mito. I'll probably be there and look to get different in other spots, just because Connors is a proven major championship performer as of late. We know that skill set from tee to green's there. The ball striking's there. You do just kind of worry about his ceiling with the putter. And Mito, man, we talk about mentally tough guys. Bouncing back from that 72nd hole at Southern Hills is no easy task, and he's handled it beautifully. So I think he's a mentally tough guy. With the physical tools to play well this week. So I really like both those guys, and Mito and Connors up at the top, with Tommy Fleetwood kind of coming in a third for me. As you move down towards the bottom, as Tambo said, I think there's a lot of interesting plays here where you can get different. Davis Riley's going to be popular. He kind of falls in that Cam Young, that Will Zalatoris, really talented young player mold. So I understand why people are kind of going there. We've seen the upside, played really well in the PGA Championship. The iron play has been white hot as of late. So there's a ton of talent there with Davis Riley, but I also think there's some interesting pivots. Russell Henley's kind of a guy that's been out of sight, out of mind a little bit. But I do think he has the talent. Let's not forget, last year at Torrey Pines, he was right in the thick of that thing up until the final round. Played really well to kick off the year, closed out last year playing well. Has hit a little bit of a dry patch here lately, but I think there's enough talent there at 7,300 to kind of pivot to Russell Henley down there. I also toss out a guy that's working his way back in Webb Simpson. I know the length is kind of a concern, but I think finding fairways is going to be an important skill set this week. He has the long iron ability to handle this course. We know he's really good around the greens. Starting to show a little bit of form coming off that neck issue. So I'm willing to take a look at Webb and GPPs. Same can be said for Sebastian Munoz for me, a guy that's just kind of been trucking along, playing really solid golf. So, I think there's some ways to get different in the 7K range where there's going to be a lot of bunched up ownership.
So the dreaded 6K range. Before I throw in my little tidbit down here of information, I already heard the woos and the ahs. We're going to start it off with Phil Mickelson at 6,900. Literally nobody's doing that, right?
No.
Nobody's doing that. I deleted him off my sheet actually, so definitely not doing that.
Is there any sheer of hope down here in the 6K range? And Tambo, you go ahead and I'll throw you about what I got going on down here.
I got thrown off for a minute there. I will say before I go into the 6K range, one guy right at 7K at the bottom there, Luke List. I'll play him still. He's long off the tee. Again, we're looking for recent, this season. I'm saying he beat Willie Z in a playoff this season at a tough track. So you think about that. Again, I'm not bringing that. Yeah. That's not why I'm playing. I'm just saying we know there's capability there. You talk about getting the monkey off your back. 37 years old, getting his first win, and you can go back. Sometimes we do these majors, and you're like, wait, Luke List played here back in 2003 or something. He's been around, man. So
he's played really well at Bethpage also a couple of years ago. And then I believe that was an Open.
Tougher tracks in general is typically where he does show up because, again, he's long enough off the tee. He's got assault. We know what his approach game can be, and it's priced in at 7,000. And then on top of it, decent around the greens where, like I said, I know it's definitely mitigates it, like I talked about with the Victor Hovland situation or guys up top, as we mentioned it. But at the same time, I still think you want guys that are good around the green. It doesn't mean it's going to come through because they are always good on the stat sheet around the green. It's going to be those who are the best around the green for this week where anybody could show up for that. But I don't hate that he has that coming in. So I'll start with him, but dropping down into the 6K range, like I said, I don't have much, but some of them will get a little bit of steam as the week goes on, but Ryan Fox, long off the tee, upside, I think he's fine there at 6,700. Kitayama. And I always do this. I talk about this in other shows, but just keep it here the same, is I'm looking for guys that I think could cost more next major or next year in the same spot. And so Kitayama at 6,700, we've seen him have a couple top threes this season. I think he's definitely long enough off the tee. We know that. I think all around game and just playing these tougher tracks, he's still been okay. So I like him at 6,700. And then Euro guys that I'm taking a shot on, like Adri Arnos. This guy won recently. His stats profile really well on the Euro Tour. So I think he's interesting. And then I think Richard Mansell is another guy at 6,100, just an elite driver of the golf ball. So I do like him. And then the Korn Ferry Tour guys I'm taking a shot on, Harry Hall and Taylor Montgomery, both there at 6,400. Those guys I think are a little bit interesting there. I've seen a little love for Denny McCarthy. I've seen a little love for, other guys down here, Minwoo Lee, that sort of stuff, but not much I've got down here. So I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys got. What about you, Joe? What do you got down in this range?
Very little, kind of like you, Tambo. just guys I'll be kind of popping in some GPP stuff. Nobody that I'm really going to be building around. Nobody I'm really going to be leaning on this week. Just don't have that level of trust with these guys down here. And with the way the salary scale shakes out, I don't really feel that you have to go down here this week. Unless you do want to get contrarian with your lineup construction. I'll toss out Brian Harmon there at 7K. We didn't really get a chance to touch on him. He's a guy that, physically, it doesn't seem like he would be a good fit for a U.S. Open, but has played really well in U.S. Opens recently. We've seen him pop up a couple of times this year. So, I will toss out Brian Harmon right there at 7K. I think he's a player that you can go to with, a fairly decent level of confidence. As you mentioned, some guys in the sixes, a couple of guys you mentioned, Tambo, I'm on. I'll toss out Wyndham Clark just because he is a streaky player when he gets things going. Played really, really well last week. Ryan Fox was a guy I had circled that you mentioned, Tambo. Stuart Sink's a veteran. There's been some really sick rounds out of him. Some really heartbreak city stuff from a DFS perspective here lately, but he's a veteran. He knows how to handle these type of tracks. He knows how to handle this kind of pressure-packed environment. So at 6,700, I don't hate it. Sam Horsfield, he's actually one of the guys on the Live Tour that's young and talented and kind of has a career ahead of him, I feel. Won a couple 3 times on the Euro Tour, one earlier this year on the Euro Tour. So, he just hadn't brought that success to the U.S. yet, but Sam Horsfield there at 6,600 is interesting. And then Nick Hardy's a guy, when we start getting into KFT guys, you mentioned Harry Hall. I like him as well. And Nick Hardy's a guy that's shown a little fight here lately, had a runner-up on the KFT a few weeks ago, looked good in Canada last week. And that's about the extent of it for me, man, in the 6Ks.
Yeah,
let's hear your big secret weapon.
No, it's not. I mean, this is more of a future of information here. I mean, there's obviously some good ball strikers here, but I don't think we can go full blown. We haven't seen enough consistency, not in the ball striking round, but more of like week in, week out toughness, right? Of any of these guys. There's obviously flashes, especially up here 68 and above. There's all kinds of flashes of greatness from round to round. I mean, and you can pick 3 or 4 people there in that. One thing I want to throw out, though, this is my little tidbit, Tambo. So you can write this down, get your little notepad out. This is for future. Guy from Knoxville, Tennessee. 2016, he was named to the United States Junior Ryder Cup team. He was the 3rd ranked junior amateur in the world. Signed with the University of Alabama. They went on as a freshman. He played number 3 man behind Davis Riley, Lee Hodges. He was a freshman at the time. They ended up playing Oklahoma State in the finals, which they lost, ended up losing 5-0. COVID he got injured his sophomore year. Then COVID happened. Went ahead and graduated early. Went ahead and turned pro. Turned pro last year in June. First professional tournament was what? The U.S. Open last year. He shot 76 at Torrey Pines in his first ever professional tournament. Davis Shore from Knoxville, Tennessee is at 6,200. I'm not going to say anything about him this week. However, he has got some serious game and some serious course management skills. I know that for a fact. Like I said, played 3 man as a freshman at University of Alabama. He's played this year he's played in the PGA Latin American Tour. He's got a couple of top 10s, and future is really bright for this guy. So just jot that name down and keep up because he'll be there. Trust me.
I like guys like that. That's what I'm saying. I knew there was something. I saw on him earlier this week. It was something to do with Davis because Davis Riley, but
yeah. Davis Shore, he played a practice round. So one of the cool things about that, Scott Stallings has this huge kids played free in East Tennessee, where he raises tons of money. And then there's several courses where kids can literally just sign up for the program and play golf for free all the time. And he started this little junior cup initiative where it was like bringing the East versus the West in the state of Tennessee. And he hosted it. It was the first event Davis Shore was a part of. So pretty cool Monday. They played a practice round the U.S. Open together, with Will Zalatoris and Tony Finau. I'm like, holy crap. That's a pretty good first day out there. And a little hometown shot there. Stallings is going to have about 55 family members following him around his hometown there. It's about an hour from there. So
Yeah, how much is he this week? I saw that today
68.
late. He's 6,800, and I don't know, like, never know if you can add that or not. Sometimes it deters guys and crushes them. Other times you got guys like Max Homa this year, or when was it? 2 years ago when he won at Riv, and he said all his friends were there, and that made the difference. So you never know, but that is interesting about Stallings. Davis Shore, I just had to look something up on him because he played June 5th. So what is it now? June 14th. So just a week and a half ago, he played on the PGA Tour of Canada. He actually played an event there and shot 66-66 opening rounds. Obviously, much easier course, not even a strength of field at all, but finished T13. But before that, he had a miscut in an 8th. So maybe you're onto something.
Yeah, I mean, he's 22 years old. Like I said, he's been battling injuries and then the COVID thing. So
yeah,
I like his upside. I will say one thing about Stallings: if anything's holding you back about his around his probably statistically that we see in the DFS world, is weakest part of his game is the around the green. And if we think if the theory is it's going to be neutralized, that could help. And he has crazy moments of ball striking. Top 5 on tour moments of ball striking. So I don't hate him this week, and he's got a lot of good good feels up there, and that's usually good for him. When the guy shows up and just likes comfortable and all that, like you said with the Homa deal.
Yeah.
So we're kind of winding down here in the DFS world. It's Tuesday night. We still got another 36 hours till we tee off, but let's go ahead and do hearts and darts, Joe. I feel like I've been away from this selection for a few weeks because of family and whatnot and vacation. But before we do that, I want everybody to say, keep your eye peeled on Twitter, possibly surprise guest tomorrow night inside the ropes. If we have a show, if you see us go live, I'll be talking to somebody on the grounds up there. So don't know if that's going to happen. We're trying to put it together, but so Tambo, if you're throwing a dart, you're hitting a dart board on a long shot, who are you taking?
To me, it's not the best week for the long shots, but if I'm doing it, just going down the board here for a second, Luke List was the guy that I had tagged up, right? So I've been waiting because I think the number is like 125 on my book, but I know other people got it at more. And I wanted to get back to like 175 or 200 because my book has a top 8 each way that I can play him at. So as long as he comes top 8, I don't expect him to win, but you get a 200-1 with a 1/4 payout. So that, if he gets back to 200, I can get 50-1 if he just comes top 8. So I'm waiting on that, but that's the guy that I like down the board.
Joe, who's your dart?
I'm going Tommy Fleetwood. I like his experience in major championships. I like his ability to go low on tough golf courses. And I think being out there beside Sungjae, I think you'll see his ownership be a little bit depressed compared to maybe what it should be because so many people will be going to Sungjae there. So going Tommy Fleetwood as my dart this week.
I got you,
man.
You,
AP?
I mean, it's hard to really find a dart, and I'll tell you why is because, I feel like one of the most important statistics this week is going to be bogey avoidance, and that just to me shows toughness, right? When you hit a bad shot, you don't give up. That's usually something that I use every week, actually, when I'm thinking of what I'm going to do. And there's nobody really that peels off way on down the board that does really well at that this week. And it's probably not really much of a dart, but I see Mito coming right back in there. I could see Mito in the top 10 easy this week. Hits it so good, man. He hits it good. And so I know that might not, that's more probably of a value move there, but I like it. I think he's just, he's solid, man. So that's what I like there. Moving on to our heart play. This is where we've really deep down, and this is who we really think is going to win. Joe, I'm going to let you lead this one off.
Man, I'm torn. I'm torn here in the 93, 95 range. Really love Willie Z. I think he's going to play really well. I feel like a win's coming for him in one of these majors. But something keeps nagging me. If we're talking about heart, something keeps tugging at mine with Jordan Spieth, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an old school Spieth apologist, but I kind of feel like he's flying under the radar a little bit. And I like how this sets up for him. So I'm going Jordan Spieth, my heart play this week. What about you, Tambo?
Yeah, I'm torn, but it's on two big dogs. I either feel like Rom is going to come out and finally do something. I know it'd be back to back. I shouldn't say finally do something, but in general, of right now, people are just a little down on him. He did get the Around the Green game back at the Memorial. That's what we were waiting on. Everything else was sort of had been there. And, he got flack because he barely won the Mexico Open, but he still won it. And it's kind of the Willie Z effect to like what you mentioned earlier, Joe, where Willie Z in a birdie fest, it's tough. The guy already struggles with making short putts and has stuff going on there. And now you want him to go out and win a tournament when it's 20 something under. Like that's what Rahm struggles with and why he swore at it earlier in the season, saying this effing birdie contest or whatever, like he was just not into it. And so I think here, that's where we could see the bounce back, but I still like JT. So talked about it with a bunch of people this week, talked about it earlier, but like I said, I really do feel we've said it with Ted Scott and Scotty Scheffler all season. Bones on the bag has just been so key. And I forget who it was that I was talking to earlier this week, but they just said the difference is with Jimmy Johnson, he respected him a lot, no matter what, this, but he's really shows the same respect for Bones and then also listens to him. He'll step off and re-ask, or he'll step off and find that little extra piece. And we talk about it all the time. A good caddy, everyone, but the guy has to hit the shot. It's true. The athlete, the golfer, they go out and hit the actual shots. But this is the type of spot at a really tough course, and it worked at Southern Hills, where that extra stroke or two that they can find you over that 4 days it can be all the difference in the world. It got JT into a playoff at Southern Hills, and he shipped the thing. And Bones spoke very highly after that about why he picked JT and why he got out of the booth, or off the course, I should say, and came back to find somebody like him. So. Not going crazy here, but it's a U.S. Open. I don't think I should. Like it's with my heart. I think it's JT that goes back to back in majors.
I really like what you brought up there, and maybe it's. I think a big part of it is due to Bones being on the bag, Tambo. But maybe it's kind of that steadying presence. But I've been so impressed with JT this year, man. If we look back, he really had no business being in that PGA Championship with the side of the draw that he was on. Battled through that, showed a lot of toughness.
Too.
Players came out, played on the terrible end of the draw. I can't remember if it's that thing rounds together. I can't remember if it's the second or third round where he had that amazing round. And he's just really displayed that he can hit every shot needed, which is obviously going to be a huge advantage this week. A lot of right to left holes. A lot of these guys now like to hit cuts. We know JT can kind of hit that low sling and draw off the tee. So yeah, man, I'm with you. Just wanted to kind of chime in there.
Yeah, no, I love what you said.
How impressive he's been with Bones on the bag.
It's been incredible. You reminded me of that now too, like the players and this is like a side tidbit when you have all that is the reason to play them and bet them or whatever you want to do. But then the side one is like 2017 TPC Boston. So maybe a little bit of fan love. It's not the same course, even close, but just in general of winning in the area and that sort of stuff and feeling that coming back. But I just think he's ready to switch gears now and really put it into high gear and get the job done and go get another one. So even last week with Rory right there with him, it was till the last 2 holes. JT was coming back on Rory and putting the pressure on him. That's what he can do. And at the PGA Championship, when it's Mito, Cam Young, and Willie Z, it worked. That pressure mattered. I don't care. Well, it's not the same. I know everyone, talks about Tiger back in the day and how much that meant him coming up the leaderboard. Brooks had his little run where Brooks coming up the leaderboard meant or usually he was leading and just no looking back. But with JT now, it does feel a little bit like that. No one's scared of him. These guys aren't scared. They're all young bloods ready to go out and crush. But hey, the PGA Championship, you can add that into the mix. Like those guys did fall back. They did make mistakes. No one's going to say it's because of JT, but at the end of the day, JT was coming and guys got him at 80-1 to come back to win that thing in tournament. And he came back and got the job done. And that's really what goes on the resume. That's what it comes down to. People talking this live versus PGA versus legacy. That's part of your legacy, man. Finding the will to just be able to fight back, get to a playoff, and then close in a playoff. He did his job. That's it.
Yeah.
I like it. I like JT a lot. I think that especially if he's like close and like chasing somebody. I mean, we saw that at the PGA, right?
Love that.
So So I like that. I like if it's in that position, but I think I feel like
he's one of those guys, man. He's got the ability if the course is playing a little bit easier and the scoring conditions are out there. He's so explosive, he can go low. But on the other end of the spectrum, if conditions are tough, we know he can handle those as well. So he's just kind of a rare breed, man, in that he can kind of play in any kind of conditions, go low, hang tough. A lot to like about JT.
Yeah. So with my heart this week, I'm probably just doing it just because I feel like okay odds on it. And I found I can get like 35. I think I can get 35 or 34 on Willie Z. And I like that a lot. I feel like he's going to be there. I just don't know if he can punch the ticket or not. I feel like he's going to be there. This golf course makes a ton of sense to play him, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man.
Poana greens, they can get a little bumpy in the afternoon, that summer heat.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
He's just not a prolific winner, man. And I guess it all comes back to the putter. But I love him.
It is. That's why he never won. He won one time on the Corn Ferry Tour. And that's why I always have a struggle with betting him. Like at 9,300, I think he's a great play regardless of ownership, because the guy he hits the ball so well. He's longer than average off the tee. He's been better with his driver this season than I've seen, in the past too. And then you also got the fact that he's just an elite ball striker, and it's the putts that he's missing. We talked about it a bunch of times here, but the birdie fest putts. This ain't a birdie fest. When he's missing, it's because he's putting it for birdie, and then he's tapping in the par and moving on. That plays just fine here. So that's where I like him. The other challenge I always have, and I repeat this every time because I'm known for some Willie Z slander these days, but it's just around the generality of like people betting him. And I just brought up in the previous show I was on, but most people betting him at 35-1 have a packed card with like 6 other dudes on it. They've already bet him the last 10 times at 20 and 30-1. So they're like, you're maybe getting even, if not at all. Like I'm all about just abandoning ship. I know you want to be there for the first one. Don't abandon him if he somehow gets to 150-1. He won't, but I'm just saying it's happened to me in the past. Keith Mitchell, when he won the Honda, was like 150 after I'd bet him a bunch of times as a long shot, and then not going back on a long shot is almost worse than continuing to go back on a guy with short odds, because you're almost never you're probably not even getting even. And if you do, it's probably on a card that you have 6 guys or 8 guys on where you're not actually getting a full payout. If you put $100 on 6 guys, and some people do it differently, I know, but just say 6 guys with $100, you're in for 600. And then Willie Z pays out for 3,000, you're getting a payout, but you're getting 5-1 or whatever. Like you're not getting 30-1 that you finally hit on Willie Z. You're getting 5-1 on the week on Willie Z winning. And you're already stuck on Willie Z from all the other times you bet him at 20 to 30-1.
I like it. I like the breakdown, guys.
End rant. But you guys know I got to drop that for Willie Z because I'll play him in DraftKings. I can't bet the guy though.
Yeah, he's kind of like my new Tony Finau. I bet Tony Finau for like 4 years, and then finally hopped off before he won the Northern Trust. I wasn't there, and now I've wandered down the same road with Willie Z. But
if you're on him, Joe, you might as well stay on him. This guy's gonna win. He's definitely.
I'm staying on him in the majors. I'm staying on him in majors.
Where exactly? Yeah.
We got a rule. If Morikawa's over 20-1, you bet him every time, no matter what.
Well, this is the week then.
Yeah, well, that's to say, until last year, whenever he was like 28-1 and at the Open, and there was nothing going. So, oh man,
hey, man, that was like a once in a generation outlier, that weather last year, man.
Yeah. Well, Tambo, appreciate you coming on again. Major week, it's going to be a busy week for you again every time. You were talking about this maybe being your second favorite major, maybe first major. I'll throw out there. I think U.S. Open's got to be the second best major, maybe, except when the Open Championship is at St. Andrews. So this year, it's going to be fun too, right? I mean, there's going to be a lot of hype over that week this year. Yeah. Joe, you want to throw anything we got going on at rotoballer.com? You still, we got a little less than half the year left. We doing any closeout specials yet?
Yeah, we're going to be getting there. We're still at $69.99 for the rest of the year right now. That's probably going to change pretty soon. But we encourage you to hop on for this week, man. We've got an amazing team over there that's going to win you a lot of money this week at the U.S. Open. Spencer Aguiar with his bets. Our buddy Byron, he's been on fire. Rob Giltner's doing an amazing pivots article over there. It hosts the Approach podcast. So just a really strong team. We encourage you to go over and check it out. We got free content. You can also sign up for premium using our promo code TURN, TURN, and get 10% off that $69.
All right, man. Stay cool up there up north, man. We need some of that cool weather down here. I hope we get to run into you later on this summer.
Yeah, for sure.
Tyler Tambourine from the Fantasy Golf Degenerates, Joe Nicely from Rotoballer.com, and of course me, Andrew Putters, the Turn Fantasy Golf Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Let's go to the U.S. Open, boys.
Let's do it. Thank you.